what are we? How is it possible that we can experience anything? And that was, in some sense, the first question that puzzled me. I thought it's possible to understand how reasoning works, how language works, how knowledge works, how the reaction to patterns works in such a way that we make data compression models over these patterns and connect this with a cybernetic motivational system and so on. But feeling, that seemed to be very mysterious to me. How is it possible that a machine feels anything? So the first question that I asked myself was, what is an emotion? And how are emotions represented? And the first answer that I found convincing was by a German psychologist, Dietrich Dörner. And Dietrich Dörner had the insight that emotion is a configuration of cognition. It was not the way in which he expressed it, but this is what it came down to. Emotion is the way in which cognition works. It's not a parameter inside of the cognitive system that says you are now 50 angry and now you're 100 angry. Particular way in which you relate to the world. They are basically underlying modulators. And these modulators optimize the cognition for the situation at hand. And these modulators direct in the way in which your attention works. So it might go narrower or wider. It might go on to certain things more than on other things. It shifts your behavior tendencies one way or the other. And it shifts your experience of valence, of whether something's good or bad in certain dimensions. And these parameters together, they create a space. And being in a certain region of the space, that's what we call emotion. So it's basically our classification of a space of modulations of cognition. And that was an important insight to me. It did not explain consciousness or anything, but it explained something about the nature of feelings as assessments of the world by a perceptual system that would be visible to a reflexive system. And at another level, the question is, how is it possible that something feels like something? A question that is stumping philosophers. How is it possible that physical things feel something? And the answer that I gradually stumbled upon, and I'm by no means the first person that did this. And once I had this answer, I noticed that much of human cultures and societies had already found that answer and was only obfuscated in my own culture, is that we live in a dream. Our own perception is a dream perception. We are entranced by a notion of being in a reality that can only play out in a dream. Physical systems cannot be conscious. Only simulations can be conscious. Consciousness is a simulated property. It's as if, right? So the neurons don't know what it is like to feel anything. But it would be very useful for your organism, for your brain, to know what it would be like to be a person that is embedded in a real world and that cares about things in that world and reacts to those things that are happening to it. And so in order to figure that out, it creates a simulation of such a thing. In part, it's only a simulacrum, but this thing is basically a simulated person in a simulated model of the world. And the mind is maintaining that. The mind is basically an AI that runs on your brain, that creates a virtual world like a game engine. That is the world that you perceive and interact with, that integrates your sensory experiences. And inside of this world lives a simulated person that integrates your motivation, emotion, reflection, reasoning, attention, a model of those. And you identify with that person, with this virtual being in this virtual world.